Hi, welcome back to Hornthrowers. We are joined by a really cool guest, and for the first time, actually a contributor to Hornthrowers. I would like to welcome Meadow to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's nice to finally talk to you.
No, honestly, it's I'm really happy to have you on the show.
So we
Same.
we thought we'd start it off because it seems like you've been working on the album for some time. I know I heard the demos a while ago. Uh, how long did it take to actually put this album together?
It took a long time. Basically, the biggest reason it took so long was because we had to change mixing engineers. Basically, like the first kind of mixes we got, we weren't very happy with. Um, so we got the tracks exported from the studio we recorded at and got somebody else to do mixes. And that was just like a whole headache of a process, and it took a really long time. So that was the main reason for the delay. I think probably our first session was like January. It probably took like a year and a half to 2 years, like from the first session to like the finished product.
Oh, wow. Oh, we should probably actually like say that it's the project that we're talking about today's Fourth
Oh
Dominion.
yeah, Fourth Dominion.
That's right.
Yeah, Fourth Dominion. Yeah. Another thing, one of the first things you notice when you listen to the album is that it's like full of hooks. Like every song has got a
Totally.
memorable hook, and like to me, it's like Lilim. That chorus
Yeah.
got stuck in my head for so long. Like, how do you come up with such like um earworms of hooks? That just makes no sense as a sentence, but
I have a question about that song later because
okay.
I've got like a
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely not something that I shy away from. And it's something I'm very like, I don't know, I just love like tonight I'm going to see the Beths. So I love like catchy, like power pop rock music and a lot of stuff from the 90s, like Super Drag and like Matthew Sweet and just even older power pop stuff from the 70s, like the Flaming Groovies and even the Beatles and stuff. Like I don't know, hooks are kind of like hooks and being poppy, it can be kind of like a dirty word in like metal and punk sometimes, but I don't know, it's what I like as a listener, so it's just natural for me to kind of put it into the songs that I write too.
No, like not at all. Like we've had like guests on that have like talked about like before, like James from Hellripper was talking about like deciphering like pop music and stuff like that to actually like become better at like crafting songs in general. Like and
Totally, yeah. I think it's really important to understand, and like I think it's a good, template to start with. And I think that writing a catchy chorus is probably one of the hardest things to do as a musician. And it's something like for this record, I really tried to focus on like chord changes a lot. Like the first album, a lot of the songs are just like in the same key like the whole way through. And this record, I really tried to like Bloodstains. There's like, it's a pop song structure, but there's like three chord changes in the song. Like each section of the song changes to a different chord. So like doing stuff like that, I think really helps, heighten how catchy it is. So yeah.
That's impressive because I can only write songs in E harmonic minor.
yeah,
Well, so can Iron Maiden. So, you're in good company there.
That's why we do it. But you
well,
try and go into
it's
F.
actually well, no, it's Maiden do natural minor, like E natural minor.
That's right. That's right.
Like the harmonic minor is like sort of dissection, that kind of like neoclassical kind of thing, and it makes it sound fancier than it is. But
It's very fun and it sounds metal, so that's all I ever use.
yeah. But yeah, like I've like at least experimented with sliding the harmonic minor scale into different keys for some of the stuff you write.
Into F.
F is the
You-
saddest key. Um, with Lilium, am I saying
Lilim.
Lilim? Sorry,
Lilium sounds like a name.
it
Well,
does.
Lilim's a name too,
It
but
is. Within the mix, like I couldn't tell, like, because on first listen I thought I heard something and then like wasn't sure if it was just like a side effect of kind of the flangey guitar. But did you actually have like a kind of like a sample of like a cauldron bubbling or something like in the background of it? Or was that
Not to my knowledge. Tom Gerwitz, who did the mix, he did add in a lot of like little effects and stuff there. Oh wait, are you talking about like going into the second verse? There's like that really like warbly kind of
yeah.
yeah. I'm not sure what effect that is. Yeah, Tom, who did the mix, he added that in when he was mixing. So I'm not sure what the actual effect is, if it's a cauldron bubbling or not, but I think that that's definitely if it conjures up that image, that's a good thing.
No, they absolutely did. It was like peak goth, but you know.
Yeah, the actual like the tone, the kind of like flangey kind of chorusy tone all comes from the pedals, but that particular effect, I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I do think it sounds really cool too.
What effects? Just because I'm a bit of a gear nerd as well. Like, what effects are you using on that? Like,
Yeah, so I have I have two boss pedals that I kind of hook together. So I have like the digital delay, which is the chorus pedal they did from the 90s, and then the flanger or digital dimension, not digital delay, and then the flanger pedal, and they're pink and purple, so great colors to have next to each other as well. So yeah, I mostly just get like a clean tone. I plugged into the effects loop like directly on my 6505 Mini, and then hooked those pedals up together, and that's kind of how I got the kind of post-punk like warbly tone.
No, awesome. Like, thank you. I just like I really appreciated the tone. I wasn't sure if I was like just hearing like a guitar tone that was like really evocative of the song, or if there were like samples kind of like hidden within the mix or not there. But no, that's cool. So like on the topic of the album, the so like in like with the title and invoking sort of like Diana, the goddess of the hunt in the title. I was wondering if you could possibly like elaborate about kind of like how that ties into like the general theme of the album.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mean, Diana just means a lot to me personally as a deity. So it felt appropriate to title the record after her. And I think that I didn't write the album with like a specific narrative in mind, but I think that there is kind of a loose narrative that runs through it that's kind of like, finding pagan spirituality as an answer or response to trauma, and having that kind of be something that nourishes your relationship with the natural world, and something that kind of um, helps you let go of a lot of the trauma that you've been through. And so to me, in my own like spiritual path, Diana really is like the figurehead of that, because I'm mostly of like Italian heritage, so she was worshipped by witches in what's now Italy, prior to the Roman Empire existing. And how do you interpret it? Like, what is like, how do you like I don't know, how does it inform your listening of the album? I'm curious.
Right, I'm probably gonna get this completely wrong, but and as a cis person, I don't know if I want to like if I'm reaching here, please tell me. But obviously a lot of like Diana's story is involving sort of like transformation into beasts and like other things and like a metamorphosis and things like that. So I wasn't sure if like kind of choosing her as your kind of like figurehead goddess might have had that kind of relevance as well. Like I mean like if it's a complete reach there, like sorry.
No, it's not a complete reach, and you're definitely right. I think that I don't know. For me, there wasn't anything specific to her as opposed to like another deity like Freya or something that like I specifically saw as being more like relatable to the trans experience. But I mean, that's definitely a big part of it, as well. And like the album cover, like it's, the artist that did the cover was inspired by like the Judith myth for that piece, but like the way it's illustrated, it doesn't look like the way Judith has been portrayed in art history at all. It looks more, pagan and like a pagan goddess. So I kind of, appropriated the image that she drew, and like kind of said that like it was Diana, and holding the severed head of a man. Obviously, has like political implications, but also personal ones for coming out and transitioning and stuff.
But also like Judith's like an incredible. I can't remember which like religious subsect it was that actually like kind of removed her book from the Bible entirely. Like, and for any listeners that don't know, basically she absolute badass that the like sort of drank like the captain of like the sort of enemy army under the table and then like decapitated him and stuff like that to like kind of save her people. But and obviously the church being so patriarchal, certain sects of Christianity just removed that entire book from the Bible and were like, no. But
See, I didn't know that, and usually I know all the religious
yeah.
things on here. Speaking of like the politics angle, though, there's like one of my favorite songs was "Burn the Prisons."
Cool.
Like I thought it was really catchy as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I mean that song in particular, I was actually reading a lot of stuff like you know, like "Blessed Is the Flame" by Serafinsky, and a lot of, I don't know, like post-left like anarchist literature, basically. Um, and the whole idea of like, you know, anti-futurist politics about like the act of bashing back in and of itself is worth doing regardless of what comes from that. Like just based on the social conditions that we're presented with, the act of destruction is justified, is kind of was what I was thinking when I wrote that song. And I think that those themes definitely kind of appear elsewhere in the album as well. And I know we've talked before about Lee Edelman's "No Future," which is definitely like a formative text for like the way I think about politics, especially as they're presented on the album.
Have you read Desert by, well, obviously by an anonymous author, but
I haven't gotten all the way through it, but I have like read probably the first half of it. Yeah, I am familiar with it.
yeah, it was just more kind of, it sounded like incredibly relevant to that kind of like, you know, like resistance as revenge and kind of like the kind of abandoning that kind of like hope that anyone's going to save us and kind of like start fighting back ourselves. And that,
Totally. Yeah, no, that was definitely like one of the books I had like with me when I was like, you know, writing. I don't know if it was like directly next to me when I wrote the lyrics to that song, but it was in my mental periphery when I was writing the lyrics for sure.
I feel like that sort of idea is very culturally relevant at the moment, especially in like the lefty sort of music scene, like because that's the whole thing of Dawn Raid's last album, wasn't it?
well, yeah, that's interviewing Simon from Dorm Raid was he name dropped Desert by Anonymous in the podcast, and like the next day I think I read like at least half of the book like in one sitting. It's not massive, so it's not like a flex or anything, but and it was just kind of, it really struck a chord with me because I'd been feeling very much like in the kind of political wilderness, very disenfranchised, and kind of like when I was younger bought into kind of the, at first the like a kind of Marxist myth, and then like later kind of like just like the same myth but with a black flag instead of a red one, that you know that eventually will be a global proletarian revolution and everything will somehow be okay and stuff. And yeah, and then it was kind of coming to terms with the fact that that's likely not going to happen, at least in my lifetime, and reconciling that grief, I guess.
Yeah, and then just doing what you can do, like as communities and as individuals, and
Yeah, kind of we're fucked, but we may as well salvage what we can, and what little joys or bits of revenge or catharsis that we can get before we all drown. And
but lifting that up, there's also happiness and things within there where you
Sorry.
have like community and like mutual aid and stuff. It's not all
yeah, no,
Totally.
not that depressing.
it was through the prism of like kind of the looming climate catastrophe though as well, and it kind of
yeah.
like it's very apocalyptic. But anyway, sorry, it was a digression.
No. There's a piece, I forget the title. It's on like Deep Adaptation, and I think the author is Rupert Reed. And I can send it to you after this. My professor turned me onto it a couple months ago. But it's a lot of those same themes, but it's not kind of, it's not written from the perspective of an anarchist. It's written from the perspective of like a climate scientist. And you know, there's so much just freedom in like saying the truth, right? That it's like we lost, right? Like there's enough like irreversible climate damage at this point that's just inevitably going to happen and it's already starting to happen. But once you kind of accept that, and you don't put all of so much pressure on yourself about like recycling this light bulb or whatever, then if you go to like actually do an active community building, like picking up trash on the beach or whatever, doing that is worthwhile, because it enhances your relationship to nature and it also builds those bonds of solidarity with the people you're doing it with, completely independent of whether it's going to reverse climate change or not. So I totally agree with like everything you just said, and I think that it is increasingly relevant, with the impending climate situation.
It's kind of felt like for the majority of the time that I've been exploring like these ideas that the kind of like the class thing and the climate thing seemed like two separate issues. That yes, I agreed with the left broadly speaking on both issues, but it was kind of as I don't know if it's a case of just like as everything's gotten worse, they've sort of like merged into like if not the same issue, very tangentially related, or if it's just the fact that they've always kind of been related and I've just kind of learned more. I'm not sure, but it's definitely with seeing billionaires literally planning their like fucking like escape route off this planet whilst they're gonna just leave us to with like rising sea levels, rising temperatures, and large sections of the globe uninhabited, crop failures, and yeah.
We need to lift the spirit.
Sorry, sorry, I was. That's where my head's been at lately.
Oh no.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even if there were, a global like leftist pagan revolution, I don't know. I think for me, like participating in acts of pagan spirituality, like let's rejoice in nature while we still have it, right? Like who knows what's gonna happen to it or to us, but like um let's enjoy like the beauty of the earth while we still have some of it left, and let's enjoy each other's company while we do so as well.
No, absolutely, and that was kind of one of the things that I found in a lot of the anarcho-nihilist literature that I did read was that kind of like living for today. I think like Dawn Reid even quotes it in the album, like it'd be a shame to not only lose tomorrow but also lose today.
Right, totally.
On to happier times with that
That is
nice
happy, yeah.
quote. Yeah.
I wanted to talk about how like the band's sound in general. Like
Sure.
how do you arrive at that? Because it's like to me it's like a merge between like classic heavy metal, like some of the solos are like straight out of like a Maiden album, with like the punk bass lines, tinges of Fields of Nephilim. And I saw in a review that you posted earlier about Woods of Ypres, and I never thought of that connection, but that's also
I
there.
hear that a lot.
Um,
The band that has reminded me more of than anything is are you aware of the Canadian band Spell?
The Canadian band. Yeah. So, yes, I am familiar with the spell you're talking about, but there's also a really cool spell from like the 90s that was Rose McGowan from Strawberry Switchblade. It was kind of like a more like psychedelic, like pagan folk thing she did.
Oh, okay.
So at first when you mentioned spell, I thought that's who you were talking about, and then I was like, oh no no no. I am familiar with the Canadian band too, and they're really sick. Yeah, I loved Opulent Decay, and then the last record, Tragic Magic. I thought were both really good.
I think it was probably like primarily like the flangey guitar tones that you both seem to like favor that kind of reminded me of that, but also like you both take a lot from like new over British heavy metal, and there's also maybe like a little bit of like goth and that kind of like almost like occult rock side to it as well. And yeah, it's like a really cool mix of influences.
with the punk side as
Thank you.
well.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I always thought like because I'm a big AFI fan, reminded me of that. But then I saw maybe this is a spoiler for later on, but when you did the video that was like the influences of the album, and you said "Suffer" by Bad Religion, that makes so much more sense to me because that is such a good album, and especially the hooks like on the title track.
Totally, yeah, and the vocal harmonies too, right? Like even in Lilim, like the oohs and ahs in the chorus, like that's a total Bad Religion thing. And they've always, especially vocally and like writing vocal melodies and writing pop vocal lines, like Bad Religion is definitely up there for me. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that we've definitely done a better job of like cohesively synthesizing our influences on this one than we did on the first one. I think there are moments in the first one where it's a little, we're stretching a little too far. And I don't know. I mean, it's just, me, Brady, and Dave, we all have really diverse taste in music, and so it's just we wouldn't be satisfied just trying to kind of adhere to one specific genre. So we, just pull from a lot of different places. But it's tough at the same time because it also inhibits you from like really being in the lane of any one niche, right? Like, so it's like we're too metal for like a post-punk crowd, but we're way too poppy and like punk and goth for like metalheads, and then you know same thing with punk, so yeah, it's a double-edged sword, I guess, but we certainly wouldn't have it any other way.
I feel like when it's like that and it's just a sound that's sort of a bit hard to define, it sort of then makes it your sound, and I think that's better then because you can just instantly pick that out.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's the goal, right? Sympathetic ears like yours would say that like that synthesis of influences gives us like a unique sound, which is, I mean, that's very gratifying to hear. So yeah, and I don't know, and we're not gonna stop either. Like there's always a bunch of music that we love and want to pull from, but just didn't, don't have space for. So we have a lot of ideas for stuff on the next album too.
Pretty good. But it seems to be popular anyway because the CD run is sold out, I believe.
Yeah, I saw that.
Our copies of the CD that we got from the label are sold out. You can still get them through the label directly. But yeah, and then the cassettes are coming real soon, and then vinyl is also coming.
The label is Fear Productions.
Yes, the best.
Yep. Shout out to Barry Ann.
Yeah, who we still haven't got on the podcast yet. We
But
we
we
always
need to.
discuss it, and then. But I'm scared because it's
she's
going to
like-
devolve into your talking about Malazan, and I've never read it, so
You've got time.
I don't have time.
They're only like 1,200 pages each, and there's only 10 of them.
As I have said recently, and I think I told you, I prefer reading nonfiction these days.
No, I don't know. For me, as as I get older, it does become tougher for me to like transport myself into like a fantasy world, and it's a lot easier for a nonfiction.
Yeah, we kind of briefly touched on this with the inspiration for the album. But I know you do like poetry and stuff, don't you? So I wondered how that had informed your writing of lyrics.
It definitely did. I think I've definitely grown quite a bit as a writer and a poet since I wrote the lyrics to the album. Because like I said, it took us like almost 2 years to record, and I had started writing the lyrics well before then anyways. So I've done a lot of like studying of poetry in that time, and I think I'm a much better a poet and writer than I was at the time I wrote the lyrics for this album. But I mean, I think you can still see like some of my bigger poetic influences, like Anne Sexton and Sylvia Plath and people like that. And also authors like Wallace Stevens, who never kind of self-identified as like a practitioner of paganism, but incorporated a lot of those themes into his poetry and his writing. So I was really inspired by him a lot. So I don't know. It is strange to me that like it does seem like not a lot of people kind of make the jump from like lyric writing into like being super invested in the poetry world, because they're so interrelated to me, that like I don't know, I feel like if you are only focusing on lyrics, then you're just missing out on so much great stuff and so much stuff that'll help you grow as a writer. So yeah, I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it does.
That also makes sense.
Cool.
I think because the poetry is also about like meter and rhythm and kind of like the delivery of it. It's like when I got into poetry, it's like the person that kind of helped me get into it was like, just read it aloud, like so you can actually get the feel of it rather than just treating it as something like dead and dry and like that. yeah, that got me into like Keats and Shelley and Byron and like kind of all of the, the romantic figures that you know, all the paganism, reference to nature and stuff like that. I kind of get from that, but yeah.
Definitely. And I think, I think maybe so when I'm writing lyrics, right, it's I usually have the song first and I'm fitting the words to the music. So when I do go to write poetry, I do try to do more like free verse and stuff that is not as like inhibited by structure, things that I can't really do as much like in the context of writing lyrics. So yeah, I don't know. That's it's nice to have both, right? And it's nice to have the avenues to do each.
Did you find you'd go back then and like look at the lyrics you'd already written and then keep amending them, or did you just write them, keep them, and then?
Oh no. Up until the very last, like when I had to like submit the layouts for all the formats, I was like editing like words in the in the booklet and whatever. It's like, oh well, there's even a couple words where like the way Tom mixed it, it makes the word that I'm singing sound a little different and better. So I changed the word in the liner notes to like be, the word it sounds like, not the one I originally wrote. And I will never say what those words are. But yeah, no, it's a constant process of like, amending. And as I saw that thought I was getting better at it, I was like, oh, it was just natural to kind of make revisions and stuff as I was going. So yeah.
Awesome.
So we've kind of alluded to it already, but we do like the 5 song picks.
Sure.
What are the 5 song picks that have inspired you and the rest of Fourth Dominion in writing this album?
So a couple I'll do that are like, I made this influences a playlist on our Spotify page. So I'll do a couple that are on that and then a couple that are not. The ones that aren't on there, since we did mention Woods of Ypres earlier, I did want to say really any of the stuff from like 3, 4, or 5. Like, and especially the more songs where they're like influenced by Sentenced, like December and Windsor. I think the main thing I took from Woods of Ypres was the kind of dual like vocals of like having the baritone and then like the vocal line that's an octave higher kind of like coinciding. So yeah, we'll say like December and Windsor by Woods of Ypres. I will say I've Been Waiting by Matthew Sweet, which is just a great like catchy power pop song with like great jangly guitar. I'm gonna say hmm I'm gonna say like anything off of the first REM EP, which is like super post-punk and like kind of gothy, and like really great like dancey drum beats and dark jangly guitar, kind of like marks the transition from post-punk to alternative rock, which is very much like my wheelhouse, and super catchy choruses and stuff. Um, let's say another one that people might make fun of me for. I'm gonna say This Could Be Love by Alkaline Trio. um, just like a cool, dark, like, horror punk riff, super spooky sounding and, just super catchy. And last is a song that I've talked about a bunch and we have also covered, and that's Cascade by Susie and the Banshees. John McKeown's playing is just, on another level. He's just probably my favorite guitar player, and the way he kind of would layer guitars and just come up with really interesting patterns and ways of playing is super inspiring to me.
That's some pretty good picks. I'm surprised there was no Iron Maiden in there though.
Yeah, they're definitely on the influences playlist. There's Yeah, I mean today is the anniversary of Power Slave, right? Can I add a 6th one? We'll put in like I don't know, the do list or something. Cool. 666, the number of the beast.
That was a deeper cut, the duelists. Like, yeah, no.
My favorite is Seven
Yeah,
Sun.
no, that song has like some of the album, you mean?
Yeah, the album, yeah. That's my favorite Maiden album.
What's your favorite song on it?
Might be Moonchild.
Yeah, it's great. That whole album, no, that whole album is absolutely killer, and I love the Prophecy. Like that's a really underrated song on there, and Infinite Dreams is like always been one of my
Yeah.
favorite Iron Maiden songs too. Yeah.
Yeah, Infinite Dreams is like one of my favorites, and if we ever have Atlantean Codex on the show, I'm gonna call them out for ripping off the melody for that on the last album. But yeah, like yeah, Infinite Dreams is probably my favorite. Um, and it's a really good like kind of like how you do a concept album well, well the individual songs can stand alone, but there is like a through narrative about sort of like if not all related by that kind of like story, they're all related to like the kind of clairvoyancy, supernatural kind of like yeah.
I think that you can definitely like piece together a narrative through that album if you like it's not all there, but I think if you're willing to like put in some work of like connecting the dots a little bit, I think you can I think that there is an actual story there. I think the band is a lot harder about like the oh, it's not a real concept album than I think like fans usually are. But
Like
yeah, no, I've
the clairvoyance is like so well within that kind of like narrative that we could destruct not destruct construct. But apparently it was literally just about like some kind of like televised like medium person that was just like scamming people out of money that eventually got hit by a bus. And Steve Harris found the idea that she didn't see it coming so funny that they wrote an entire song about it.
that's so funny. I never heard that story before.
That's the bit where it's like it has like a line in it like she could not foresee her own demise, and that's kind
That's
of
oh, that's so funny.
What was your favorite Maiden album then?
oh, favorite Maiden album. I'm gonna have to say Peace of Mind, because it has Revelations on it, and also Where Eagles Dare. It's just like the drums on that. Yeah, I'm gonna yeah, I'm locking that in because I'll spend an hour debate internally debating which is my favorite Maiden album. So I'm gonna lock in Peace of Mind for today. Um,
I love Still Life off Peace of Mind. That's like a great like song that I don't think they have played it live, but not very often.
Yeah,
But
like
yeah.
I also love like the weird thing at the beginning that sounds almost like Jabba the Hutt, which I think is just like Nico McBrain shouting at someone or something like it's like some outtake of him shouting at people or something.
It's really funny. Yeah, it's like him talking and then they like played it in reverse, but it's like almost identical. There's a really similar thing at the beginning of the track Pornography by The Cure.
Hmm.
And so it's like I always like if either of those songs comes on, I'm like, wait, which one is it? Because they start with that same like, you know, goofy like reverse voice effect thing.
Reminding myself the track list, I'm locking in Peace of Mind because
Okay.
it's also got Die With Your Boots on, Flight of Icarus. Yeah, it's just and it's even got a song about Dune on it. To Tame the Land because they got sued by Frank Herbert. So they had to change the title of the songs to Tame the Land, even though the whole lyrics like literally reference Arrakis, Muad'Dib, because that's Haderach and all that.
It's my only experience with Dude is David Lynch's version, which is one of my favorite comedies of all time.
I haven't seen that, but I'm a massive David Lynch fan, and we've almost finished Twin Peaks because I never watched it. I had it on DVD for years, never watched it, and I've on the last two episodes, and it is amazing.
Um, yeah,
Rob doesn't like Twin Peaks, not Twin
no,
Peaks. David
I do
Lynch.
like Twin Peaks, and I do like David Lynch. I just it took me many years to get into David Lynch because the very first David Lynch film I saw was Dune, and that did not inspire me to want to go out and watch more David Lynch films.
I thought this is a good segment as well. We'll add this as well. Top five favorite movies
Of all time, or like ones that were
of all
like,
time. I'm
oh
co-opting
dear.
Letterboxd.
Okay, I'm gonna say Alucarda is definitely up there for me, which is a really great like kind of Spanish horror film that has some pagan iconography and like these really cool like satanic ritual scenes in it. Um, I have to say Lord of the Rings. I'll say, you know, I'll say probably Fellowship. I think it's probably the most like
Yeah.
um cohesively put together as a film of the three of them. Um, dear, oh my gosh, putting me on the spot. I gotta include something from Studio Ghibli, right?
Oh,
I did it with the Michael Heisel one as well.
oh,
We
okay.
went into top 5 favorite films. So my top five
Go
favorite
ahead.
films are already on record. But Shape of Water,
Oh, really?
Evil Dead 2. Yeah, I saw Shape of Water several times in
Oh, no,
cinema.
no, I love Shape of Water. I
Yeah.
just didn't think
Shape of
you were
Water,
your
Evil Dead
favorites.
2, Wild at Heart. Uh, what's the
I was imagining that
Wild at Heart?
I
Yeah,
was imagining the Nick Cage
because
mosh pit
Nick
theme.
Cage is one of my favorite actors of all time. And what's that film called? The
Connor.
no. It's Satoshi Kon film, the one with Tokyo Godfathers. That's it. Um,
That's a great movie. Yeah.
and then I never because it's you only get the four on Letterboxd. I never picked my fifth, but
Alita Battle Angel.
I hate Alita Battle Angel. I nearly walked out of the cinema. Um,
I know how to troll you so
you
well.
do. I'd probably say like American Werewolf in London or something.
I saw that for the first time last week.
It's incredible.
It's like amazing, and the blend of horror and comedy and the transformation scene, everything was just
Or maybe actually Perfect Days, which I've only seen once. It was so good and it was so wholesome. I feel like that is going to become a comfort film for me. Yeah, sorry, I interrupted yours. So
No. That's you're totally fine. Yeah, no, American Werewolf in London is great, and I think like I've seen it a bunch of times, and it still makes me laugh. I think it's like genuinely hilarious.
it is hilarious.
I still couldn't get over the predatory nurse in it. That just like, how did she not get like stricken off for that? Like, like just randomly taking patients home with her to.
NHS in the 70s, I guess.
Yeah, okay, so my top four on Letterboxd are Fellowship of the Ring, Alucarda, Princess Mononoke, the Wicker Man, the original.
Yeah.
And then yeah, for number five, let's just say oh dear. We'll go with Videodrome because I love David Cronenberg.
We better do your top five now.
Oh,
Go
well,
on.
thank you for
Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be embarrassing.
That's why you should get
You can probably guess from like the gasps that a lot of mine are gonna be similar to yours. Like, so Princess Mononoke is like, if I'm feeling sick, that's the film that I put on.
Sick as in ill, sick as in cool.
Sick as in ill. I'll wrap up in a blanket and I will watch Princess Mononoke with like a bowl of thing. Like, it's just tying into like kind of my love of nature, sort of like there's the gods of the forest, there's the destruction of the natural environment, the forest fighting back, which is also like found in Lord of the Rings. Love it. Absolutely love it. It's like my favorite Ghibli film and one of my favorite films. I'm covered in like Tolkien ink, so yeah, I'm gonna have to pick. I'm gonna differ. Just I agree with you that Fellowship is probably the most cohesive film. I mean, like the Mines of Moria sequence alone could be its own little short film. Like it's so well put together. But Two Towers does have the Battle of Helm's Deep, so I'm gonna go with Two Towers. I did love Shape of Water, but I think Pan's Labyrinth like just edges it out ever so slightly for me. Again, I don't want to just like borrow from your list, but Wicker Man's also one of my favorite films. But
you have excellent taste.
Thank you. It's kind of yeah. I will go with that. And sorry, I wasn't expecting to have to do this today, so I'm just kind of like and I will go with, just to piss you off, Denis Villeneuve's Dune.
Oh,
It's not,
there we go.
not even in my top 10, but I'm just saying that just
I feel like the top five movies needs to be a mainstay on the Hornthrowers
I will
podcast.
go away and I will actually think about it like properly, because I've never
You need to set up a Letterboxd account because it is
I mean, like I'm already
incredible.
kicking myself for not including the original Alien film in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of, I don't
Because
know.
it's like, when did I see that film? My last films that I watched, Muppets, Great Muppet Caper, as we watched the other day.
We did watch the Muppets together.
well, I didn't watch half of it because my partner had put it on and I was cooking a curry, so
It was a lovely curry, though.
it
Thank
was
you.
a very nice curry, if I do say so myself. But yeah.
On the,
Oh,
no, I
sorry.
was just gonna say, on the topic of Del Toro, how do you all feel about Hellboy 2? Because I love Hellboy 2,
Oh
and
my
it's
God.
probably
Yeah. Sorry. Like so on like sort of character design alone and like sort of like the concepts, the characters like the Angel of Death in that and things like that. It's a beautiful film. Like the elves in it, I love it. I'm really sad we never got like they're imperfect comic book movies, but they like I wish that they'd rounded out the trilogy and you got to see Hellboy's like the Destroyer of Worlds and all of that stuff. But I think it's because it leans more into the kind of like epic fantasy with like elves and Celtic mythology with like the kind of like they go to like the fairies that have constructed the Golden Army because they have to go to like Ireland and stuff like that and
I haven't seen the Hellboy films. I've
oh,
seen clips and that's it.
the two Del Toro ones are amazing. The one with David Harbour as Hellboy, despite the fact that it had a old lady from a well-known British soap opera firing a submachine gun in it.
Wait, who?
Mo from EastEnders.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
Um, she like swears and picks up a machine gun from behind the bar.
Does she look just like she does in
Yes,
EastEnders?
yes.
So for context, it's like a character from a show called EastEnders who is like someone's auntie. She looks like, as you'd expect, like an older British lady to look.
Yeah, an older working class British
Yeah,
woman.
from London with the accent. And she was a scam artist. She was like always pulling like tricks. Like
She's in it for like 3 seconds. Like I don't want to build it up
that
for
makes
you.
the movie for
She's
me.
in it
That
for
makes the
three
movie for
seconds. I
me.
think she like calls someone a cunt and then pulls like
That
a
is
submachine
that
gun out.
is in this in the London accent that just makes it better. Well, I'm gonna watch that now. I'm gonna go home and watch that.
It's awful. Don't bother.
How
Like watch the Del Toro ones. They're actually decent.
picks. We've got film picks, which is now gonna be a mainstay. We'll do one last one. Top three favorite Muppets, because we've been talking about that lately. So
I mean,
you will be judged for this.
yes, it is a judgment contest.
I don't know if I'm like familiar enough with the Muppets to have three favorites, to be honest with you. I mean, it has to be Animal, right? Uh, let's see. I'm just thinking. That I only like know three Muppets off the top of my head, which are Animal, Kermit, and Miss Piggy. So we'll go with those
Fine,
three.
that's fine. Kermit is one of my favorites with Gonzo and Tweetum. Tweetum's looks like Man with Swine from Pokemon, so I love that.
Me and Liv have the exact same three Muppets, which is why we're friends.
Yeah. And then my partner's favorite is Robin, because Robin is just a baby version of Kermit.
Yep, thank you so much for joining us. Meadow, it's been a really fun conversation. We got derailed a little bit, but
Which is just a Hornthrowers speciality these days.
but they were fun little tangents.
They were.
No, totally. Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure to talk with y'all and nice to finally see you face to face and to hear your voices. Well, I've heard your voices, you haven't heard mine.
Yeah, but
Well, we say your singing voice, so
yeah.
True, very true, very true.
And yeah, so please check out the Fourth Dominion. Really amazing album, nice hybrid of like goth music and new wave British heavy metal stuff. It's really cool. If
where can you find it?
you can find it.
You can find it at fourthdominion.bandcamp.com and FIA, that's FIADH.bandcamp.com.
Go buy it and we will think you're cool.
Yes.
I might still judge you.